So against my greatest prediction, Super Sentai DVDs actually came back, but are they any better than they were before, or is it just more of the same? Let's talk about it.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and today we're talking about the return of the Super Sentai DVDs. This has been a topic that I've been waiting to do because I wanted to make sure I addressed it properly. I had previously made a video basically talking about how the Super Sentai DVDs had died and what were the reasons that led up to it. And I proposed a theory that the reason why they stopped was because Toei's licensing fees were exceeding the actual revenue coming in for the releases. And I was actually wrong on that, I will admit it, because, well, we got physical evidence that I was not on base with that. See, I proposed a theory based on what I was looking at because, well, a lot of people were blaming Hasbro, which is a way to blame things, but I also know that Toei can be incredibly fickle and incredibly expensive to license things for. So, well, we got a press release when the release of Dikyo Sentai Fiveman was announced, which was the first new Sentai DVD in 3 years. In the press release, it stated, "Available for the first time in North America. Highly anticipated 7-disc DVD collection to be made available directly to fans from September 6, 2022 from Shout Factory. The Super Sentai franchise, spanning 46 different series and concepts, going strong in Japan for many years. Shout Factory, in collaboration with Eone, is proud to present a special Super Sentai collection, Dikyo Sentai Fiveman, the complete series, available directly to fans beginning September 6th. And yada yada yada, we'll talk about that in a moment. But yes, it does specifically mention Shout Factory in collaboration with E1. Now, could E1 be the reason why things stopped? According to several sources, yes. Because apparently, when Hasbro bought E1, E1 absorbed all the media properties, E1 just put a hold on everything. And it seems to be the case with pretty much everything we've seen. There have been no Transformers DVDs, there's been no more Power Rangers DVDs. In fact, the first thing I've ever gotten with the E1 logo for a Hasbro-owned brand is the Fiveman DVD. So, yeah, whatever went on behind the scenes, I can't speak to, but it does seem like E1 was the ones to finally say, let's go ahead and release Super Sentai. And within 2022, we did get to the releases of Fiveman, as well as Abaranger, with Dekaranger coming up next February, or next month. Gosh, is it 2023 already? Anyways, the point is we have more Sentai DVDs on the way. However, things are not exactly what seems to be as clear. These were sold exclusively through Shout Factory. They mentioned on the pages it's part of Shout Debut, and that they'd be available on Shout Factory months before other retailers. But as of yet, we've not seen any of these pop up on other retailers. Fiveman came out in September 2022. It is now January 2023, and there's been no retail listings saying that this is going to get released outside of there. So as the moment, and as I'm covering it now, these are Shout Factory exclusives, which, considering they ship to US and Canada, means a lot of fans around the world that used to import these through Amazon or other means don't really have that option anymore. So there's that. Also, these are not going to be streaming on Shout Factory's Tokusatsu service, which streams to things like Tubi TV, Pluto TV, and others, which means, yeah, if you're going to want to watch these shows officially, you have to buy the DVD. And maybe that was the intention. Maybe E1 or Toei requires higher sales on these than what they were getting before, and maybe that was the agreement, that they had to be through Shout directly, so the money comes in straight to them. It can't be streaming, so that way the money goes to these exclusively. I don't know the deal that was made, and I can only speculate that there is something to do with creating direct market sales with these releases, as opposed to just going for a wide releases before. And I mean, the wide release was pretty much just Shout and Amazon, but that was better than just being Shout. We'll talk about the shipping fees and how the Shout Direct part actually hurts these releases, especially for me. But in terms of the Sentai releases being back, I'm glad they're back. But I can't say they're better than before. Let's dive into Fiveman and Abaranger and talk about why these were likely already planned before the halt happened. So let's start by looking at Fiveman. Now, Fiveman was released in September 2022 and was the marked herald of the return to the Super Sentai DVDs. And this is quite a nice release because Fiveman, being an older Sentai, did not have a movie nor a Versus movie, so there is nothing missing. It's all 48 episodes, and it's contained in one package. What's interesting to note as well is that we have a 7 DVD set instead of an 8 DVD set like the others. Maybe because it's a couple episodes shyer, they were able to put more episodes per disc. Particularly this last disc has a lot. and I have checked. The quality doesn't seem to have suffered because of it. It does seem like a pretty good, healthy amount. This is a standard definition video series that was not going to get an HD remaster because Toei simply doesn't have the elements for it. And at 7 DVDs, that's honestly fine for what's included. It's also nice to see screenshots from the series in the back of the case. Now, when it comes to the packaging, of course, it is the same kind of packaging that I usually expect with Super Sentai DVDs. Before Power Rangers, there was Super Sentai, Japanese logo, team shot with Photoshop background, Tokyo Sentai Fiveman, 4 screenshots. It's fine because we're used to this. This is the 13th release. It's not like they're going to start changing packaging styles now. And yeah, let's talk about the now. Because while this does contain a logo for Eone Entertainment, signaling the switch over to Eone, and it does feature a 2022 to 2023 copyright date, which is interesting. It's a specific range. Usually those are just one date and it goes from there. This is pretty much a release that was planned for 2019. And there's a couple theories related to this. First of all, there was a tease in the MMPR Toys video of the DVD release, which had a blurred out version of this cover, so that seemed pretty on point. The biggest thing, which a couple other people hadn't mentioned, that I'll mention here is the product code, because every Shout Factory release has an SF product code. I mentioned this in my Combinator Kuga Blu-ray video, where I mentioned that it was SF22883, and then 01 was SF22189. That means they're 2022 releases, approximately, right? Well, here's the thing. If you're looking at 20108, this is a pretty far off number from Kuga, even though these released in the same month. So where is my theory going? Well, if you look at previous releases, such as Dekaranger, which was a 2018 release, it has a 19260 code. If you look at Hurricaneger, which was a 2019 release, it has a 19738 code. So obviously the Sentai DVDs aren't the only thing Shout Factory produces, so there's going to be gaps in these numbers. They put out a lot of movies. And you can see that these kind of have a natural progression, not like there was 3 years between them. And then adding to that, as we'll talk about Abaranger in a moment, Abaranger has a 19904 code, which actually puts it in production order, according to the Shout Factory number system, between Hurricaneger and Fiveman. So there is an entire possibility that Abaranger and Fiveman were already ready to go when the halt was put down by Hasbro after the release of Hurricaneger. And this is kind of fascinating to me because we got Fiveman first, and Abaranger came really quick afterwards, but as you can see number-wise, it seems like this was the order they were meant to be released in. Now, of course, you're probably wondering, oh, you're just looking at the Tokusatsu releases. That doesn't correlate to all of Shout Factory. Well, here's just a couple movies. G.I. Joe the movie came out in 2010 on Blu-ray, and this has a product code of SF11882. And Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure came out on 4K in 2022, and it has an SF23130. So typically the first two numbers are the year after it comes out, but that just may be due to sliding timescales. Maybe Kuga was scheduled for 2023 and it got pushed up. I don't know exactly for sure how the numbers work, but we can use the numbers to get an idea of when these releases were designed and planned. Packaging art aside, and of course copyrights have to be updated, it's entirely possible that both Fiveman and Abaranger were planned for a 2019 or 2020 release. Maybe 2019, maybe 2020. And yeah, that would explain some of the things with these sets. So first off, let's talk about Fiveman again. The subtitles on this, I'm going to include one screen cap. I really don't want to mess with Toei too much because they are mean, but they have subtitles that feature what is essentially known as the hearing impaired subtitles, where they feature character names or sometimes sound effects so that those that cannot hear the sound effects or the voices will know what is happening. I think this is a great feature. Unfortunately for Fiveman, it's the only subtitle option. So someone that doesn't want to see that kind of extra text added to their show, which then adds more words for those that may be slower readers, it's kind of a thing where it's great for accessibility, but it's kind of really weird to have as the only option. Now, on the flip side to that, the Abaranger set, which we haven't really talked about yet, was released in November 2022. Of course, packaging, Super Sentai, Abaranger logo, team shot, 4 screenshots, name, you know, what we usually expect. This team shot is weird because it puts Abare Killer in the center like he's the leader, when Abba Red is the leader of the team. This is due to the nature of Abare Killer in the series, mostly being a villain. This is a weird shot. It would be nice to get a nicer shot of the team because it just seems out of order, but nothing we really can do about that. It is an 8 DVD set, which, going with the number theory, they figured out, hey, we can put more on a disc because Abaranger contains 50 episodes. It may have had to push to an 8th disc. But once again, E1 logo, once again, 2022-2023 copyright. Same kind of stuff we expect. Now, there is no movies and there is no versus movies, which we sort of expected from the previous releases. But there's all the discs, and we have a nice set of screenshots in the back from the series itself. So the thing with the Abaranger subtitles, what's an upgrade, which is kind of weird if these were produced, if they were produced with Abaranger first, then Fiveman, and I just don't have an explanation for this, but with Abaranger, you do have an option in the menu to have the hearing impaired subtitles turn on so you can get those names and the sound effects, or you can have them with just normal subtitles where the text shows up on the screen when people talk. And that's pretty much it. In terms of these overall releases, how do I recommend these? Well, being exclusive to Shout Factory's website, not much. Because the problem with these releases is that they've always cost too much, and I still think that is Toei's fault. Because when it comes down to it, Super Sentai has a way to be introduced into the market through Power Rangers, whereas something like Kamen Rider doesn't. But the problem we have now is that Kamen Rider is getting full series Blu-rays, and in the case of shows like 01 or the upcoming Ryuki, including the movies that go with the series. And while they may not include every movie and special, these are complete sets on Blu-ray and ultimately are cheaper than the Super Sentai DVDs. Now, you may be thinking, all right, well, where's your metrics here? Okay, so you can buy 01 and Kuga from Amazon or Best Buy or Right Stuff Anime. You have some options. But with the Super Sentai DVDs, you can only buy them from Shout Factory. And they're priced at a price that is a few cents below their free shipping rate. So if you want just Fiveman or just Abaranger from Shout, you're going to be paying shipping, which means your total, while they are listed at $47.98, that will be over $60 after shipping and taxes. Whereas with Kamen Rider, because they're listed on Shout's website at $51.98 or so, you can get them shipped free. So it's actually cheaper to get a full, complete Kamen Rider series, with sometimes movies, on Blu-ray in full HD with really nice subtitles that may have a few errors but are pretty solid, or you can get SD video Super Sentai DVDs that sometimes only have hearing impaired subtitles turned on as the only option, and overall not including any movies and on a DVD. It's not exactly a great value for the Sentai DVDs. I've always thought they were overpriced because if this quality was put out at, say, like Mill Creek Ultraman prices where, hey, okay, your subtitles are kind of weird, mistimed, and there's a lot of typos, and it was $25, I'd be a lot harsher. But at 50, essentially $48 or more likely $60 a set, that's a lot of money for something that's not quite up to snuff, especially when the same company, using the same Japanese source company, is able to put out something so much better at the lower price, in fact, when you're talking individual units. It's really hard to recommend the Super Sentai DVDs when the Kamen Rider Blu-rays are so much better from the same company. But at the end of the day, if you want Super Sentai on DVD, the only choice you have is to buy them. But if you only live in the US and Canada, you can't get these. When they were on Amazon, if you were in another country, you could import them because Amazon offers global shipping. But with them being exclusive to Shout Factory, you can't do that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, do I recommend Fiveman and Abaranger? At the moment, no. Because ultimately, I don't feel like I got my money's worth with either release. And that may be different for everybody. You may be excited to have Fiveman or Abaranger on DVD. It's like your favorite Sentai and you're really excited to get it. That's great. But for me, personally, I'm buying these things so I can review them. But man, I did not buy Abaranger right away because, well, I got Fiveman with Kuga so I could get free shipping. But I did not want to pay the shipping fee for Abaranger. And that's not to mention the fact that Shout Factory lost my Fiveman release in their warehouse and then told me to just wait for it, and I waited a month, and then they sent me a replacement, which took way too long. But the fact that Abaranger, I waited till Dekaranger and Ryuki went up so I could order those as an order together and get free shipping, and that's why these videos are coming out now and not earlier. But at the end of the day, I do want Super Sentai DVD releases to continue, but I hope that we get to a new spot. And in terms of the subtitles, I do think that there was definitely a revolution because the subtitles on 01 and Kuga are much better than the Super Sentai DVDs. But if Abaranger and Fiveman were in production prior to their Kamen Rider deal where they got the new translations going, I wouldn't want to redo translations if I was a company. That would be a waste of money. So hopefully, whenever we hit the point after what they had already done in advance before they were told to stop, maybe Dekaranger, we will start to see some quality increases. I know that most of the shows can't be DVD, only Bokenger Onward were aired in HD, and only Go-Onger Onward have proper Blu-rays in Japan, so we can't expect everything to be on Blu-ray, but I would at least hope the subtitle quality be sharp and top-notch considering the price they're being sold at. For as much as we rag on the covers for the Sentai releases, I do think they look nice spine-wise. Like, it's not totally consistent, because there's like, here, these 4 are wraparound covers, these are all solid colors, and then Car Ranger's got the checkerboard pattern. Yeah, the font's a different size and type every time they do the name, but all the Sentai logos together, all the series logos, all the discounts being in the same spot, it does look really nice. This looks more cohesive, actually, than, like, the Ultraman sets, because, like, while we got the cool, like, spine art things, and there's just stuff like this, which is completely different. So, you know what? I'll give shout credit on this one. The Sentai DVDs look nice on a shelf. So do the Super Sentai DVDs have a future? It's a question I asked last year in the summertime when we pretty much thought it was dead. At least I thought it was dead. Sentai DVDs are back. We had a release in September, a release in November, and now we have a release in February. Or did it get moved? The point is that Dekaranger is coming from Shout directly, and it's coming on DVD. There's also this really weird cover art where they use the same image they used for Power Rangers SPD, which I didn't have a problem with. There was, cover art problems we'll talk about when we cover Dekaranger, but Dekaranger's coming. It's a popular show. It doesn't include the movies, unfortunately, but it's pretty much just exactly what we expect, once again, at the higher prices that these sets release at. Hopefully, maybe, Dekaranger will be the next release, and that will be on a new release, not one that's been held back for years because of licensing restrictions. We'll see what happens. But in terms of future releases for Super Sentai, at this point, I wouldn't say anything's a guarantee. Wouldn't even guarantee future Shout Factory Kamen Rider releases. We sort of have to take these things one at a time. I thought Sentai DVDs were gone forever, but hey, they're back, and weirder things have happened. I'm glad they're back, and I'll keep supporting them and keep making videos on them. But at the end of the day, remember, your money is your money, and you choose what you want to spend it on. Don't necessarily buy these out of brand obligation, thinking that it's going to make them necessarily better. Voice your concerns about the sets, and don't just blindly buy and blindly love them, because at the end of the day, if you just keep buying something that's subpar at the price that it's at, they'll never want to change what they're doing, because that's business. So that's why I make these videos, and I want to point out what can be improved on these sets. I think the cover art's a lost cause, and honestly, I don't care anymore. But it would be nice to see the subtitle quality increasing, especially if the sets are going to be through Shout only, and are going to cost upwards of $60 to get. Because, well, I order them out of reluctance, because I want to review them, so I want to order them right away. But I waited on Abaranger, because I did not want to pay the shipping fee. And at the end of the day, that's pretty much all I got on the Sentai DVDs this go around. I will be covering Dekaranger when it releases, as well as Kamen Rider Ryuki. I cover all the Tokusatsu home video releases that I can on this channel, and I hope you'll support it by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. Let me know in the comments if you have anything I missed or anything I got wrong. I always take corrections. Please be kind and respectful, though. I got a lot of really weird death threats for the last video I did, and a lot of accusations thrown at me that I think were definitely uncalled for. So be civil, be nice, be constructive, and if you have anything that I missed or got wrong, please tell me in the comments below. Also, be sure to hit the like button if you did enjoy this. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Soundout12, and also check out Hero Club at hero-club.com for Tokusatsu interviews and more. My awesome graphic designer is on Twitter at DarkClaw643, and until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.